our version of middle ground. It's about Asians raised in America versus Asians raised in Asia.
Hi, I'm Michaela. I was raised in the Bay Area, California.
I'm Victoria. I'm raised in Hong Kong.
I'm Stana. I'm raised in Delhi.
I'm Sabrina, and I was raised in California.
Hi, I'm Chien. I was raised in America.
Hi, I'm Stella. I was born and raised in China.
Hi, I'm Wendy, and I was born and raised in the U.S.
The first question, you grew up in a heterogeneous community. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Disagree.
Agree.
Why?
Well, I feel that where I'm from, there are people of many diverse cultures, including Asian, including white, like Latino. So that's why I agree.
So like for me, I am born and raised in Hong Kong, went to school there as well. I mean, obviously, there's no kind of concept of like minorities or like different races or ethnicities even, or minimal concepts of that because most of the people living and going to school in Hong Kong, at least from my upbringing, are just like people from Hong Kong. So it's like everyone is the same and there's like very little kind of like understanding of what differences mean. And yeah, I think that really kind of contributes to, like homogenous like experiences with people around. And not gonna lie, like there are societal issues about, like discriminations against like new immigrants and people who are not the same ethnicity as we are.
Yeah, I think I echo that pretty much all of that. I grew up in a country which is primarily like very, very homogenous in race. There are a lot of different smaller subgroups of people and culture within India. It's a very diverse country in and of itself, but overall it is definitely one race, I guess. Like it is South Asian, and that's just the kind of people that I was constantly around, whether it was in school or like other institutions that I was a part of. But that was just what I was kind of used to seeing until I had a chance to travel abroad and move to America for a little bit, study in school here. But before that, it had already been like very much people who were Indian.
I grew up in a pretty Asian community, so I think I never felt like isolated. So I have a lot of Asian friends, but also non-Asian friends. I grew up in a very diverse community.
How much independence did you have growing up?
I had a pretty strict childhood, but then slowly my parents gave me more freedom, but it was the bare minimum, I can go to a birthday party or something.
Yeah. Same. I feel like for me it was before middle school, my parents were strict with my everything, but after middle school they just give me a lot of free time. I made my decisions for what I'm going to study in college and what kind of school I want to go for college, and just make most of the decisions myself. So yeah.
Yeah, I think my parents were I growing up thought that they were very, very strict with me, but I think now looking back I'm I don't know if I've let my kid do the things that they let me do. I was running around the city alone, pretty young.
Oh wow.
And now I see kids running around the city and I'm where is your parent? I don't understand. So I feel in some cases they were pretty lenient with me. And I didn't recognize that until I got older.
Do you prefer Asian food or American food?
Asian food. Asian food. 100%.
I'm sorry, but what even is American food? You got a burger. The Asian food has so much diversity because if we're just counting all of Asia, that's 75% of the world's food.
Wow. No, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm personally a huge fan of any Asian cuisine. Obviously I still need to kind of expand my experience, but I love Korean food. I love food back in Hong Kong, and then even in Chinese cuisine, there are thousands of different ingredients and condiments and ways of cooking in different parts of China. So it's very, very diverse and a lot of different flavors.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think there's more taste in general, taste and flavor in Asian cuisine, whether it's South Asian cuisine or Southeast Asian cuisine or East Asian cuisine.
So many different options for Asian food to choose from.
Yeah, I think I American food and I'm pancakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
If you could only listen to one type of music for the rest of your life, would you choose Asian or American?
This one's really hard. Honestly, if I had to choose, maybe Asian, just because there's like a lot of variety. Like there's like Bollywood and there's like K-pop and like you know.
Like my favorite artist right now is like Asian American, but then I feel like if I had to choose, I would choose Asian music because if the language is like just some kind of attachment to that when you listen to like for me like Cantonese and Mandarin songs, like I just feel that sense of like belonging, especially now I'm in America. Like I feel like I'm at home when I'm like listening to those kind of music.
I know this is a red flag, but I don't listen to music. All my friends think I'm psycho. So I don't know how I would choose this. Like the only music that I have reference to is like when other people play it at parties, and since I grew up in the US, it's a lot of American music. Like I think that if I were to actually get into it, I wouldn't actually like the artists that I know because it's very popular music. So I would have to say American, but that's because I don't listen to music.
What is your favorite artist?
Kind of contradicts what I just said. I like Frank Ocean, and you know Joji's pretty cool too.
This year it was Japanese breakfast, and she's like, yeah, right, and she's like Korean American, but she's amazing.
It's just silence.
Are you studying what your parents wanted you to study?
No. I think they had like an expectation, but they weren't super adamant. They're just like, as long as you like what you're studying. But I would say generally no, because they probably envisioned med school for me.
I'm kind of like in the similar situation, so like kind of like yes and no.
I feel that my parents were like, again, like yes and no. They were like, oh, that's so great that you want to do media. It's not too late to turn pre-law, you know?
I'm like 4 years into undergrad, and my dad like will sometimes jokingly say, "You can still go to med school," and I'm like, "What are like?" I know he's like joking, but for a great part of like high school and like 11th and 12th grade, which is kind of like the deciding years for us in India in school, he was like, "You can do whatever you want as long as you're passionate about it, but remember that you're living in a society, one, and two, you like need to make money." So his main consideration was that as long as it's a stable profession, anything is okay.
Just lucky that my family's supportive, even though it's not what they originally envisioned.
I think that my parents are trying to like be like, we're not like other Asian parents. Like they're like, I promise we're not like tiger parents. But then like secretly in the back of their heads are like,
I think like throughout high school doing electives that both my parents and I thought I could do, which is science, only came to realization that I could not. So here I am. I'm an MCC major, but I'm still a STEM major. MCC is a great choice.
Is school really time consuming and competitive?
No. I feel like growing up, I grew up in the South, and my school was very like athletics based. Like all they cared about was like football. Like, yes, football. We have to win #1 or whatever. So it was just like mostly focusing on that. Between academics and athletics, I don't know. Academics, it was like kind of like the second priority. Yeah, that's basically it. Just athletics.
For me, it was like usually it's like the most intense when it comes to like entrance exams to like middle school to high school and to college. But like other times I'm like personally I'm just like chilling. Like until the final year of like high school, middle school, I was like, okay, that's the time to like for me to work hard. But like other times it's like not that intense for me.
We didn't even have like entrance exams or anything. It was like based on like the county you're in. So you like just go to the school that's in the county. But I'm sure you can like apply to like different schools. Yeah.
Also, you went to public school too.
Yeah.
I also went to public school. I think if you went to private school, you have to test it.
Definitely.
Yeah, it depends. I grew up in a relatively competitive district. I went to school near Boston, and it was like a public school, but it was a little bit competitive. And it wasn't competitive for everyone, but I think I made it competitive for myself. My parents were like, I think that they were a lot more intense when I was younger about me doing different extracurriculars or doing school, or even like when I wanted to major in, like they were really intense about it when I was younger. And then I was really aggressive about disagreeing with them when I was younger. And so eventually they had to give in. As I get older, I feel like now I'm a little bit less type A. I'm trying to allow myself to breathe a little bit more. And On the other side of it too, my parents are like letting go more and they're letting me choose like what I want to do. I think it's like a process of like growing up. Like you realize that the world isn't just like one, you're not headed down one route and you don't have to like reach all of these goals, you know? So
Last question. How does your family express their emotions?
Through food and acts of service.
My family is just very expressive with love. I think it maybe has to do with the fact that I'm an only child. I don't know, but I've always received a lot of like vocalization of like love and like them always like telling me verbally that, you know, you're doing great or whatever, like whatever they have to say. With the way like they express even anger or concern, it's all very expressive, which is unusual for an Asian family, at least for in my experience, South Asian family. Also with like my relatives, like they're not as expressive. Maybe it's just like my family, but yeah.
I think my mom is definitely a little bit more on like the more expressive side. I mean, obviously I spend more time with my mom because my dad works overseas, and then she's a very like tough love type of parent. So a lot of times like there are like arguments, but it's like, yeah, like you know she kind of like wants the good for you, that type of thing. My dad is a little bit more like kind of subtle in terms of expression. So I think both parents are really good with like expressing through food or acts of service, as you said. And I think especially over a pandemic, because we didn't see each other for a couple of years now, I think they also got more expressive.
I would say that it really changed over the years. Like ever since I left for college, it's definitely been more like expressive and stuff.
Do you agree with the statement, your family says, I love you?
No.
Give me like verbally saying like I love you, like
Yeah, verbally saying. And if not, like, how else would they express their love?
Yeah, they don't like verbally say I love you to me. They do it more so like in an acts of service kind of way. Like they give me fruits like in a random time of the day, or like they, I don't know, they just check up on you or whatever, just random things. And I feel like it all comes together.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And also like I feel like my mom says, or like at least express I love you more than my dad do. Like for example, my mom will be like, now she'll like text it on WeChat and say like, oh, I miss you. Like when I was at home, and she'll be like, oh, I want a hug. Like after she came back home, my dad is like more like the reserved type of dad, and he's like his expression of like I love you is more like, oh, do you need anything? Like
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. Do you need help from me or something like that?
I don't think that they've ever said I love you, like those words. There have been a couple pivotal moments in like my family and stuff that's happened and stuff where we've like sat down and there's been like a really vulnerable conversation. You can feel it, like the love coming. But nobody ever says directly like I love you. It's like sharing like either trauma or like what's going on or your feelings and stuff like that. And that happens like once in a blue moon, but you can feel it in those moments. I feel like typically I feel like when I was a kid I got a lot of anxiety from my parents asking or checking up on me or like wanting to know where I was all the time, and like I was like, why, like growing up in the US you don't see a lot of other parents have that if they don't have immigrant parents. So I didn't understand it, I think, a lot, but now that I'm older I can see that as like a way that they showed their love.
I also feel like when you are older, you like recognize, or like you're just more closer to your parents in general, just because mentally you're at a similar level. So because of that, you just connect with your parents more and you share more of your personal life to them, and hopefully like they'll understand and will, you know, whatever.
And I also feel like at this age, like especially after college, I'm no longer at home that often.
Yeah, the distance.
Yeah, the
brings you
distance
closer.
it's like it's weird, but like that kind of makes me want to like communicate more with them, like in terms of like what's going on in my life, and like I'm just like looking forward to like video, like just like calling them like every weekend.
Aww. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Smash the like button, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram.